going to talk a little bit about, in this video diary part, history. I have been a history buff most of my life, and it was always a challenge to find new things that were interesting about history that maybe I wasn't taught in school or college. But I really did not grasp the gravity of how far history has gone, the recorded part of history not being what we've been taught. You have to dig in. And I can tell you that in the last 15 years or so, where I've come to a reality of what history is versus what I've been told or what I understand it to be, I have been shocked over and over. Massive amounts of information now is readily available that you couldn't have gotten your hands on generations ago. When you used to look up events in history, you could go to an individual library and you would pull out everything that you could find on the subject and do everything that you could in that library to get research. Maybe you'd go to another library, having virtually all of the libraries in the world at your fingertips to cover every or any subject just about ever mentioned, suddenly gives research a completely different view. And what dots you could not have connected centuries ago, decades ago, now can be drawn as you look at multiple views of things. And you realize, there was a quote that I have heard attributed to Napoleon, that history is only lies that are agreed upon. I've also heard the quote of history that history is recorded by the winners. Both of those are very valid. And when you dig into the major points of history, you will be startled at what you find. Reasons for, since I'm in America, the wars that we have been part of or have been in our history, in American history, global, or should I say world wars, the history of how and why those things developed, the result of treaties and things that were supposedly done and have been impinged upon since. But you begin to get a completely different perspective about what you thought history was. And again, growing up with a particular perspective in our American schools, we're shown world history and U.S. history and specific things that pertain to our neck of the woods. However, there are definitely events, and they have been prophesied about on numerous accounts, particularly involving the scripture. And when you do the research on these things, you find out that it has been very consistent what was said to be forthcoming from the time of, let's say, about 750 BC to maybe even current day. Those events of history are very clear, but you have to dig a little to find out what you're looking at. I may sound like I'm talking in circles, but I can't possibly convey to you or give a data or brain dump enough to convince you of things that I have seen, discovered, and are convinced of now. I'll kind of narrow it down to a few very pertinent points. In the 20th century, the 1900s, the world wars, the results of the world wars, who won, who lost, you might say, the catastrophic effect of these world wars, and the death tolls that are given, and the results of those wars not just being death on a battlefield, but sickness and disease, and how those things were exponentially grown because of the ability for mankind to move about on throughout the world at a much higher rate. If somebody is sick in China today, they can be on the other side of the world in America in a matter of hours. And so from that 20th century viewpoint, things rampantly moved across the world, not only in a viral or bacterial form of war, but concepts as well. In fact, I'll share with you one of the things that I think is a very real defining moment in the 20th century that I don't know that a lot of people really perceive how significant it is. I'm going to do that in my next video diary, number 3, and it's about the end of the 20th century, beginning of the 21st century, Y2K. So until next time, test everything, trust